Hey everybody, welcome to the Tom Parsley channel, where just like Parsley we get into a little bit of everything. So come along with me today and let's see what we get into today. So we're at Southaven County Park in the campground. My camper is right over there, that little Class A motorhome, the blue and white one. We'll talk about that camper in a separate video. So we're going to do a little bit of walk and talk. We're in the woods here. There's a river that runs through here. So we're going to take a look and see what's in the river and see what's in the woods and see what we get into today. So come along with me and we'll see what we get into. All right, so we're here at our first stop. Right behind me here is the impounded Carmen River. What does it mean, impounded? So this was the Carmen's River almost 100 years ago. It was a flowing river. And this Southaven County Park, Southaven County Park is in Suffolk County. Suffolk County bought it in the 60s and turned it into a county park. You just saw the campground over there. Behind me over here is the other half of the park where there's picnic areas and trails and things. And this was originally a rod and gun club, a private rod and gun club. So this Carmen's River behind me was impounded all the way down back over here. There's a dam. And there was actually a mill up on the dam that, I don't know what the mill was. It might have been a grain mill or a lumber mill. I don't remember what kind. If I seem a little distracted, we've got swans, and they're getting a little, a little too close, because if you know swans, you know they could be a little aggressive. So I'm just trying to keep an eye on them as we're talking here. Anyway, so the river was impounded all the way down at the end over there for a mill. It used to be a mill building, but that's long gone. But the dam is still there. So this lake, and I'm pretty sure this is called Hard's Lake, H-A-R-D, because it was the name of the person that kind of made this whole area a rod and gun club. So it was a rod and gun club from the 1890s or 1870s, somewhere around there. And then in the 1960s, Suffolk County bought it and made it a big giant park. So right across from me is actually a boat launch. You could rent boats, you could leave kayaks here. It's a really cool lake. I've kayaked on this lake before, it's pretty neat. And you could go all the way up where we're gonna end up going, all the way up here. There's another dam all the way up, and that's where we're gonna end up, but we'll make a couple of stops on the way. And also, fun fact about Southaven, if you believe it, there was a UFO crash here. You can look it up and Google it, but is there? I don't know. That's up for you to decide. So yeah, so this is the impounded Carmen's River. Carmen's River is one of the three great rivers on Long Island. Nisququogue is one, the Peconic is another one, the Connecticut is another one. We talked about the Connecticut River in another video, and then the Carmen's River. So I guess 4 rivers. And there's a few others here and there, but this is one of the major ones. And you can see the leaves are starting to change. So we're heading into fall. We're in about mid-October now, and this is a really pretty part of Long Island. And I'm actually in the water, so we'll do a little gear check here. We got a wool hat here, made by hand knitted by my niece, Vinyl Knits on Etsy. Go check her out. Check out her page. And then if we look down, we got our bean boots, LL Bean boots, and these are pretty good for walking where we're going to be walking today a little bit. Sorry, I kind of cut out there. I don't know what happened. I must have hit a button or something. Anyway, we were talking about our gear, so let's flip around here. And LL Bean boots, right? Good for walking in kind of muddy, marshy areas, which is what we're going to be doing on our whole walk here. And I'll give you a moment of zen. All right, let's head up on down the river here and see what we can see. So we're stopped here right before we walk down towards the river. Just wanted to show you guys, this is the old group camping area. And if you kind of look behind me over here, you'll see all the campers up over there. But this area used to be the old group camping area. And there's still some leftovers. So you can see like the old water spigot over there. And they abandoned this and put the group camping area over there. But this trail over here continues all the way up, and we're going to follow the Carmen's River goes that way, or Hard's Lake as we called it. So the lake kind of continues all the way up, and then we'll get to the actual river up over there. And we'll stop along the way because there's some pretty neat bird blinds and some areas where you could go trout fishing, because this was a rod and gun club. The river was stocked with trout. On the other side of the river, the fields were maintained for upland birds, and there was a trout hatchery. If you remember what I said down at the end over there, with the river was dammed, there was a trout hatchery at the very end. It's abandoned now, but this was all maintained. But from like the 1890s to around 1960s, somewhere along there, and it was all maintained as a rod and gun club. But where we're walking now, if we kind of look up a little bit here, you can see that all of these trees, these are all oak trees, all deciduous trees. And they're still green. Leaves are starting to turn, so this is mid-October, so we're starting to, in fall, and leaves are starting to turn, starting to lose their chlorophyll. There's some pine trees here and there, but it's mostly an oak forest. And we're just going to continue on the trail, and I'll see you at the first stop. So as we're walking along here, we just stop a few times when we see something cool. So this is a red maple. It's red, easy to identify because the stems of the leaves are reddish. And this is indicative of wetlands or moist areas. So this whole area does get pretty moist because the river, like I said, is right over there, so it gets kind of moist in here. And red maples always grow in wetlands areas. And you can start to see that for sure we are changing the leaf color. That green chlorophyll that's over here is starting to stop production. And because the green chlorophyll is fading away, you could see all the reds and yellow chlorophylls. And it turns really super pretty. So if we see any more pretty colors as we're walking along, we'll give a stop and talk about what we see here. So we're talking about fire in one of our last videos, and this pine tree right behind me here is a really good example of fire resistance, fire adaptability, and how fires are important to some of the pine trees here in kind of the outskirts of the Pine Barrens of Long Island. But if we kind of turn around here, you can see this pine tree. If we go all the way up, that is one big pine tree. And if we go all the way back down and kind of get a little closer to the bark here, you can see that the bark is really thick. And you know what kind of bark this is? You have to listen. Woof, 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 woof. Dad joke, but I'm not a dad. I'm a dog dad. Anyway, the bark here is really thick, and that is good resistance for fire. The other adaptability are the pine cones. The pine cones need the heat of a fire to open up, and inside, in the middle here, is where you're going to find you're not going to find any seeds in this one, but you would find all the seeds in here, and that's how the seeds disperse from a fire. The fire has to open up the heat of the fire has to open up these pine cones for the seeds to disperse. And you can kind of see that little holes here are birds that are pecking holes, woodpeckers that are pecking holes in here to kind of get at what's underneath to get a free meal. And there's another pine tree over there and another pine tree over there, but that one's dead. And so you can look up. That one was probably succumbed to the pine beetle that we were talking about before. So we're going to continue on the trail here, and I'll see you at the next stop. All right, so we made one of our first stops here as the lake that kind of comes into the Carmens River over here. And you can see the stop sign is not for cars, but it's for, remember I told you a little bit before that they rent boats on the other side of the lake. And this is as far as those boat rentals can go. But if you have a kayak, you can go all the way up, all the way to pretty much the beginning where it gets a little too narrow for kayaks to go through. And we've got some yellow flowers over here. I'm not really sure what those are called. And you can see all of the stuff collected, some old fishing bobbers over there. As the river goes downstream, it kind of gets caught by some of these pilings that are here to stop boaters from going any further up. The rental boats, not the kayak. Kayaks can go right through. And that kind of collects over here. And then the shoreline itself is pretty muddy. Like I said, good thing I have those bean boots on, because it does get kind of muddy and wet over here. And we've got another one of those red maples we're talking about. All along the shore here is red maples. Along that shore is red maples. By the way, if you're hearing gunshots as we're going through here, there is a trap and skeet range over there. So it's shotgun that you're hearing in the background over here. There's some swans all the way down at the end. And like I said, the leaves are starting to change. So it's starting to get really pretty over here. Here's a red maple right above us here, right here. So, okay, so we're going to continue on. So all of these stops here are also really good for fly fishing, because like I said, this area has been stocked with trout. So this is very, very popular for trout fishing. As a matter of fact, there's a road that you can drive on that goes all the way up to the northern end of the park, and you could stop at different places to go fly fishing. So let's continue up the river, sorry. Down the river's that way, up the river's that way. So this is a pretty big area here where you could park your car and walk down behind me here, right down to the river. And there's a little platform for you to go fly fishing for trout and any other kind of fish that are in here. And there's also some bird blinds a little further down. I think they're still here. They might have been, they've been here a long time, so they might still be here. They may not still be here. But let's take a walk down to the river here and check it out. So if you see, there's a nice even trail that walks down, and there's that little platform over there. So let's see if we can walk over there without falling into the river. And hey, if we fall into the river, that'll make good content. So let's head down here, and here's red maple up over here. And there's a big island of grasses over there. And we walk right out onto this platform. And it's pretty solid. You can see that kind of stop sign pilings that we were looking at before. So we didn't go that far down, but here's the Carmens River right over here. The river is flowing down ever so slowly, ever so slightly down that way as it joins Great South Bay past that little mill dam that I was talking about before. Then it's the lower Carmens River, which then goes past a wildlife refuge, connects to Great South Bay, and then eventually gets into the Atlantic Ocean. There is a fish ladder at that dam all the way down at the end. So any fish, alewives, herring that can come upstream will be able to go up that fish ladder and eventually make it all the way up to the upper part of the Carmens River, which is way, way, way up that way. And it starts as a spring bubbling up from the ground and just flows all the way down into Great South Bay and eventually the ocean here. So I've kayaked this section. I've gone all the way up past that little grassy island up there and all the way up to the dam, which we're eventually going to go to, and that's where we're going to stop. And I did purchase a polarized filter clip-on, but guess where it is? It's home. So I forgot to bring it, because with a polarized filter and polarized sunglasses, which these aren't, but I have them with me, is that you could see through, not see through it, but cut the glare of the water. So you could see what's below the water and you could see any fish that are there. So that's definitely an experiment for another time. So continue. It's also kind of important to note all this understory brush here. We'll zoom in on it a little bit. This is all blueberry. And blueberries like acidic soil. And this soil is really acidic with all the oak leaves, the pine needles, and a little bit of tannins from the water. This soil is really acidic and it's sandy. So blueberries love this kind of environment. I know if you're trying to grow blueberries at home, you're like, it's not growing, we're not getting any blueberries. It's probably because you have to acidify your soil, because blueberries thrive in acidic soil. And there's all blueberries all in here. This is all blueberries. And the blueberry leaves turn bright red in the fall. Really, really pretty. Okay, onward. Okay, this area is one of those bird blinds I was telling you about. This is called blind number 2. And if we continue, this is a little parking area where I am here. You could drive in here and park. And then right behind me over here is the trail, or is it right here? Is the trail that's going to go down to the bird blind. So let's take a walk down the trail. This is, if I recall, this is a pretty far walk. Well, not really far, but just far enough. So we'll just walk down this trail here together and see what we see. So again, it's getting a little moist in here. There's a lot of wetlands. There's a little boardwalk that you're going to see that is right on top of the ground, because the ground can get really muddy. And especially when the Carmens River overflows and the water level comes up, it can get really muddy and boggy in here. So someone was nice enough a couple of years ago to put down some boardwalk boards here. And I'm trying to look at the camera and also look at the trail so I don't trip and fall. But again, if I trip and fall, hey, that'll make good content, right? So we'll continue on. We'll, on the way back, if we see anything cool, like all of this lichen and moss over here, it just loves the moist ground, and it just grows everywhere. It's almost like a rainforest. Look how much there is down here. It's really absorbent, really soaks up a lot of the water. So it's very common to see, and there's all different kinds. Like this is sphagnum moss down here. If you take a closer look here, and I don't want to pull any out, but if I were to pull a handful out and squeeze it, you would see a lot of the water that would come out. There's more sphagnum moss over there, and kind of a mix of moss and lichen over there. And it's like a little mini rainforest down here. Looks really cool. All right, so we're going to continue on the trail here. And there's a tree that fell over. Hey, if that tree fell over and there was no one here to hear it, did it make a noise? We'll just give you also a little moment of zen here as we're walking through the woods here. All right, so do you pronounce it Asmir or ASMR? I had a big debate with that the other day. Is it Asmir or ASMR? I don't know. I call it Asmir, but I know a lot of other people call it ASMR. So let's see where we go here. There it is. Okay. Now there used to be a little dock, or if this is the one I'm thinking of, that you're able to walk out to. But yeah, it's gone. So you can't access it, I guess, unless you have waders. So there's a little wet spot down here. So we're going to kind of ford it, walk over, and then walk down here. And this is as far as we could go. So if I'm not mistaken, there used to be a little bridge that went out to that platform, and that's kind of blind number 2, and that's another platform for fly fishing or for ducks. But I guess if you have waders, you could go walk out there and climb up on it, but I don't have waders, and I'm not climbing up there to walk out over there. There's a better blind a little further up, but so we'll continue walking up the river. By the way, as we're walking down the trail here, I've been mentioning my boots here, the LL Bean boots. Not sponsored. I'm not sponsored, but by all means, LL Bean, if you're out there watching and you want to sponsor this crazy guy walking in the woods in the mud in your excellent LL Bean boots, I'm all for it. All right, so we're at bird blind number 3. The sign is right somewhere. I just passed by it. And the trail goes that way, which is right behind us here. So we're going to walk down that trail and we'll check out blind number 3. So come on down. So this one's a pretty wide trail, a lot wider than the other one. And if I remember correctly, again, I haven't done these trails in a while, so I kind of get confused which one is which. But this one, I think, is another pretty long walk to a blind. And I think this one is the actual bird blind, where it's an actual like structure that you could go into, but I could be mistaking it and thinking it's something else. But you can see the soil, mostly sandy. We got more red maples up over here. We've got some taller blueberries up on the sides here. A lot of down trees. And as soon as you start to see more of that lichen and the moss, you know that we're getting into a lot of wet territory here. Oh, I spy. Let me see if I could zoom in here. Let me see here. There we go. All right, where are you? There you are. See what I see? Don't hit it with a rock. You'll be sorry. That's paper wasp nest. In the fall, in the winter, once we get a hard freeze, all those hornets are gone. The queen, I think, burrows underground somewhere to come back up again, but you don't want to hit that with a rock or anything. Good thing it's kind of tall enough. I think I just saw one in and out. Yep, it's still active. They're coming in and out. So good thing it's tall enough that it's not going to bother us, I hope. So let's just walk a little fast here. All right, didn't hear any buzzing, so good. Unfortunately, dead pine tree, most likely from the southern pine beetle, which has been destroying all of our native pines. And it looks like it's just about ready to fall and being held up by that oak tree over there. So let's just walk quickly away from it just in case it decides to go down while we're here. We'll just follow the trail around and oh, this is at the dam. Okay, so we're at the dam already, and there's some people at the dam, so I'm gonna stop here and maybe I'll add a voiceover a little bit later. Okay, so we're on the other side of the Carmens River here at Southaven County Park. Behind me here, if you take this trail, this goes all the way over to the picnic areas, to the boat rental, to what used to be horseback riding, but not anymore, unfortunately. And supposedly back over there is where the UFO crash landing was. I don't know about that. But we're on the other side of the dam, so we're gonna flip you around and we'll talk about the this dam here and what's going on here. So these steps over here are when you kayak up over here, you could portage up these steps and go right around the dam over here. There's no fish ladder on this dam, but the fish can kind of get up this dam. It was reconstructed a couple of years ago. You could see that the upper part of the river continues all the way up that way, and you could still see all of the colors changing and everything. It's really pretty time of year. We can control, well, not we meaning me, but New York State can control the flow of water here by just putting boards in to either slow it down or speed it up. Like this board in here, you could pull out and speed up the flow of water. Flow of water is going downstream, and this is a relic from when this whole area was a rod and gun club, because again, this was all managed and maintained for stocking for fish, for ducks, waterfowl. All over there were all these fields for upland birds, and it was managed for as the rod and gun club, as it were. The water flows pretty fast in here. I have been in here with the kayak, so it does go pretty quickly. And the fish can kind of go right up this channel, middle passage here, and kind of go upstream if they need to. So there is a fish ladder all the way down at the mill dam over there. So all the herring, alewife, striped bass, anything can go all the way up and spawn in these rivers now, which is really, really exciting. So this is considered blind number 3. Blind number 4 is a little bit further up, and then there's a few others that are even further up as the river kind of constricts a little bit and gets a little narrower. This is kind of where I turned around when I've been kayaking, because I had the kayak launch back at the mill dam part. But this is the reconstructed dam. I got to be careful where I'm walking so I don't fall over. But again, that would make good content if I fell in the water. So there's a whole bunch of dragonflies buzzing around back and forth. And again, because it's fall, we're seeing a lot of the trees change color, leaves, deciduous trees. All the red maples have changed. The oaks are starting to change. And there's those yellow flowers again we saw before. I don't know what they are. I'd have to look them up. And there's a lot of submerged aquatic vegetation. Again, you can kind of see a little bit of the bottom here. But again, because I don't have the polarized lens on your eyes over here, you can't really see, because a polarized lens would cut the glare. Would be pretty cool for fish just kind of buzz by over here, but I don't see any. So again, this is great for fly fishing only. It's stocked with trout, and this dam was reconstructed a couple of years ago because it was in really bad disrepair. But it is maintained. There's a lot of talk about dams. Do we need them? Should we get rid of them? This dam does maintain and controls flooding all along this area here. So So there's that, I guess. But anyway, all right, so onward down the trail, upriver to blind number 4, and I'll see you then. I didn't hit record on that last take. Yeah, that's one of the things. I have a little button and I forgot to power on the button because the power's down. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, this is that road I was telling you about. That is an access road. You could drive down here and stop at all of these little fishing points. And this road here is called River Road. And this goes north-south, south from Sunrise Highway, north all the way to somewhere in Yaphank. I don't remember. I haven't driven this road in a long time. But it ends, this road here ends at a very low railroad crossing, crosses under Long Island Railroad, but it's very low and very narrow. And it looks pretty cool. At least the last time I saw it, it was pretty cool. So this road goes all the way north to the northern border of the park, and it still stops along the way at different fishing areas along the river. So we're going to go a little bit ways down this way because I haven't gone this way in a long time, so I don't remember what's down this way. Usually I turn around at the dam, but this time we're going to go up just a little way, see if there's another platform, river access, and then we'll see what we find. All right, so we're here at blind 4. You can see that the road is right over there. We just walked down here. The trail to blind 4 is right behind me. It's pretty far, but we'll take a walk down there and check it out. And there's a sign behind me here that I wanted to point out right over here, because we've been talking about fishing in the river here. So we're in New York State. So you do need a New York State freshwater fishing permit. And we want to help improve fishing, of course. So cut the leader if you can. Hooks are cheap. Throw the small ones back there. I don't know off the top of my head the sizes. Usually the sign up, but this part is stocked. This is the season, April 1st to October 15th. We're just about a week before the end of the season. Daily limit is 3, with no more than 1 being over 12 inches. Brook trouts are catch and release. Why are brook trouts catch and release? Because brook trout are our native trouts. We want to keep those. Rainbows, browns, and any others, they are stocked. And fly fishing only. Okay, so if you want to fish here, you got to get a New York State freshwater fishing license. And for those of you in other states or other countries, that's how we do trout fishing here on Long Island in freshwater in stocked waters. And brook trout are our native trout, so we want to keep those in good health. All right, on to blind number 4. All right, so we made it over to blind number 4. It was a bit of a walk, longer walk through the woods to get here, and it's just a platform. There's a little bit of a walk the plank kind of thing to get onto shore, but another location right here on Carmen's River. We're a little bit further away from everybody, so it's really quiet. And this is another spot to just kind of stop and do a little fly fishing. Again, this is all stocked with trout, and we've got some pretty cool, I'm going to turn you around here. You can kind of see the water flowing a little bit more down right over there. And we've got right over here some spice bush. I'm trying to watch where the edge is so I don't fall over, but again, it'll make good content. So this is a very common wetland plant. We've got more of those grass islands over there, and you can see that everything is really starting to turn colors. The leaves are turning color, the grass is turning brown, and you can really hear the shotguns off in the distance. That trap and skeet range is right over there. And we've got some cattails or irises right over here. So this is late fall in a river. So we've got a lot of changes. The season is changing. The sunlight, the hours of sunlight are changing. So a lot of these plants are getting ready for the hibernation period of the winter. A lot of the turtles and any other critters that are in the water are kind of hunkering down for the winter. This is spawning season, so this is stocked with trout, so the trout will go and lay their eggs. And as far as what's in the water over here, and again, I don't have the polarized lens on the camera here, so you really can't see through the glare, but it's not that deep. It's only about a half a foot or a foot maybe. Lots of grasses and plants growing in the water here. Some of these plants are still blooming. And there's that plank that is a little precarious to walk over to the mainland over there. But this is kind of where we're gonna turn around and we're gonna head back. So just wanted to remind you of those 3 things. If you made it this far, I want to thank you so much. Thank you for your support. And I want you to do the 3 things. You know what they are. That's like, comment, and subscribe. Share with your friends. And this is Tom from the Tom Parsley channel signing off, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.